What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some pretty interesting news about Destiny 2. And of course it is Thursday, so we do have This Week at Bungie, and they talk about some changes that we're going to see in Season of Opulence, which of course is Season 7. And that will include an adjustment, a nerf, to Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten, so we'll discuss exactly what that looks like in just a moment. And yes, there will be some mixed feedback about it, I'm sure. We'll round up some of the discussion and future changes for the game. Bungie talk about a pretty major issue with the upcoming Invitation of the Nine. They've got some updates and confirmations about triumphs and objectives in the Revelry, some information about upcoming Bungie ride-alongs, and some other news updates and roundups. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, a rating below really helps me out, but now let's get straight into it. So of course they start out by talking about Iron Banner. Right now in the game we have Double Valor active as well, and tomorrow Triple Valor will begin, and of course that's 10 AM PDT on Friday at the same time that Xur arrives, and I'll be keeping you posted with that video tomorrow. Now Bungie reiterate that they will be making some changes to Spectral Blades, and that's going to come in an update next month in May, and that'll be Destiny 2 Update 2.2.2. I'll link a video down below with all of those changes if you want more details, but they say now we'll be looking at some changes currently in development for Season of Opulence, and of course that is Season 7, and Bungie have indicated that that's going to start off in June. And so they speak about Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. The TWAB says, today we'll be going through some balance changes planned for Season of Opulence, and we want to start this conversation early to ensure players understand what change is coming. After a significant amount of feedback, internal discussion and playtesting, we've decided to adjust how Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten work. For some players, these weapons can represent a significant investment of time and the personal improvement needed to acquire them, but when tuning, we attempt to take into account the time commitment players make to acquire weapons and balance that against how those weapons will affect the different game modes. They go on to say Magnificent Howl, the unique perk on these weapons, is too effective. It works in a neutral setting and rewards players for getting precision shots, something that they would have done naturally, but as a result, the time to kill of the game shifts to meet this new benchmark, and players feel that the majority of primary weapons in Destiny 2 cannot compete with these Pinnacle weapons. Our current plan is to make Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten the only 150 RPM precision hand cannons. They will maintain some aspects of their current behavior while taking on the firing speed and damage of the 150 RPM hand cannons, and Magnificent Howl will also be adjusted so that it increases only body shot damage, and this will result in a 2 headshot, 1 body shot kill. Magnificent Howl will still give an advantage due to requiring less precision hits for optimal time to kill. So essentially, they are reducing the rate of fire, because of course right now they are 180 RPM hand cannons, so they'll become 150, but they will allow a 2 headshot, 1 body shot kill as long as you've got Magnificent Howl active. I think that's a pretty interesting trade-off. Obviously the weapons get to keep that intrinsic kind of unique property, but that rate of fire adjustment will essentially adjust the time to kill. So what do you guys think about that? I'd be more curious to kind of hear your thoughts on it. Personally, for me, I think it sounds like these weapons are still going to be very popular, especially if they have, the same kind of range and recoil. If those elements stay the same, there are going to be a lot of reasons that these hand cannons will still probably be pretty good. At the same time, if that opens up the meta, of primary weapons a little bit, then for me personally, and as an owner of these weapons, then that's absolutely something that I can live with, and I'd rather see a bit more kind of variety. But again, there will definitely be mixed feelings on this, so let us know your thoughts on it down below. Once again though, those changes are planned for Season of Opulence, and that is going to start in early June. So let us know your thoughts about that one. Now though, important note about some content this week, of course we have the Invitation of the Nine coming up tomorrow. And Bungie say before this pursuit goes live, we'd like to make players aware of a blocking issue which we're currently working on. So tomorrow's invitation, titled The Tower, will require players to complete the Hollowed Lair Strike and defeat Hive, Scorn and Vex on the Tangled Shore. Currently, this invitation cannot be completed since Vex are not available as enemies at any location on the Tangled Shore. This issue won't impact any previous invitations, but only the Tower invitation, which will be the current up-to-date one for this week. But you say they're working to resolve that as soon as possible, but it looks like when that goes live tomorrow with Xur, we won't actually be able to complete it at that point in time. So definitely pretty disappointing. Strange that there will be an objective to kill Vex on a planet that doesn't have any Vex. I kind of see what the issue is with this one, but hopefully within, a couple of days or so, Bungie can figure something out. Nonetheless, I will keep you posted with Xur's location, and hopefully I'll bring some interesting exotics to null the pain of our missed invitation. Next thing to mention before we get on to some other news and roundups though, next week on Monday, April 29th, Bungie are going to be doing a Shattered Throne ride-along. And of course that will still be while we're in a full curse week, so next Monday at 2:30 PM Pacific time over on twitch.tv/Bungie, they'll be jumping in, talking about some of the developer inspirations for this content. Yeah, and it could be a pretty interesting one. So definitely bear that in mind, and Bungie have been taking some feedback about dungeon type content which we'll touch on in a moment. Now though, let's touch on some news and feedback items about future content and changes. So first up, it appears that Bungie are seeking the help of certain well-known players to improve the game, and of course we did see a similar thing happen back in 2018. Firstly, we had things like the Community Summit, but then as Bungie worked towards Forsaken, they had popular content creators and community members help out, and one example of that would be Holtzman or Patrick Casey, who joined Bungie in kind of a professional capacity and contributed to the content drops following last September. But this time, it looks like BSK Change, who's an absolute monster in PvP by the way, and I'm sure many of you know BSK Clan, especially if you like your PvP, but Change announced on Discord, and then this was shared on Reddit, but they're going to be joining Bungie for a little while to work on the game, and presumably that is going to touch PvP content. And if you couple that with the statement that Bungie made a little while back about the future of Crucible, as well as bigger changes planned for later this year that they're going to reveal in the summer, absolutely, it kind of looks like Bungie are cooking up some new stuff for PvP. And with summer reveals and a late year release, of course we are talking the fall kind of DLC, whether it's a slightly bigger DLC, or whether we continue getting the annual pass-style drops. Regardless of that, it certainly looks like we've got some potentially significant stuff on the way for Crucible. So let us know your thoughts about that one down below. But speaking of new content and player feedback, yet another Guardian has suggested that we need more dungeons like the Shattered Throne, and this one does come up an awful lot. And it would appear that DMG agrees with this one though. He upvoted the post and reiterated that the team are aware of the positive feedback for dungeon content. And I've seen Bungie respond to an awful lot of these posts in particular, and given how well Shattered Throne works, the fact that you can solo it for a neat reward, it also features into a couple of different quests and things like that, plus Shattered Throne was only the first real iteration of a dungeon. Yeah, given Bungie's responses and the continuous feedback about this, it very much looks like they could be working on some dungeon style content for the future. But some other quick feedback points. A lot of players have spoken about adding old Trials weapons from year one to new loot pools in the game, so there have been a lot of suggestions for both comp as well as in the Reckoning, of course, and Bungie are passing along the feedback about potentially adding these kind of weapons to this content. There's also been a conversation about Pinnacle weapons being account-based, and DMG did confirm that Bungie do plan to keep Pinnacle weapons account-based moving forward, even possibly into bigger DLCs. And of course that's how they tend to work right now, but it's a good confirmation that that's pretty much how they'll continue to work. On top of this, last year you may have remembered a conversation about potentially adding Sparrows to Mercury. Now this is actually something Bungie pursued, but an issue came up during developing that change. They didn't have time to actually get it in for Forsaken, but DMG has said that they'll check with the team to see if this can be reevaluated for the future. So a few changes and possible upcoming changes right there. Be sure to share any of your thoughts on those down below. Next though, Bungie have given some more details on how Revelry ornaments are going to work, drop rates, and why they, as well as the tonics, will go away together at the end of the Revelry event. So firstly, in terms of how ornaments drop for the Revelry, DMG said that the ornaments have a similar setup to Reckoning weapons after the recent update, where chances to get them increase with each package that you purchase. And of course, a lot of folks have spoken about the fact that the Revelry ornaments are pretty rare, as well as the fact that a lot of folks don't want the ornaments to go away after the event. But DMG added that as well as with the tonic, essentially those items are set to turn off together at the end of the Revelry event. And so for now, that is going to remain to be the plan, because Bungie don't know if they can necessarily get that changed before the end of the event. So yeah, interesting to get some more clarification about that, and they say they have taken much of the feedback about how this stuff has worked, which they'll consider for future events. And on the subject of the triumph to create 200 orbs by defeating Guardians inside of Crucible, Bungie do plan to reduce that requirement to 20 orbs. And this is for the Revelry triumph, and they say after the event ends, in the update we get in May, players who had already met the requirement of 20 orbs will actually get that triumph auto-completed after downloading the patch. So that's also going to unlock the Party Harder triumph, so bear that in mind and I'll link the details about that down below. Of course, right now in the game though, this week we have Iron Banner. There's one item that hasn't been dropping for this season though, and that would be the Iron Ruby shader, but apparently the team are developing a fix and the shader should be available during the final Iron Banner of this season. So if you are a collector and you're wondering about that one, then you should be able to pick it up in the Iron Banner that we'll get next month. Another random thing right here, DMG actually added a patch note to the recent update that was 2.2.1, that was the Arc Week update with all the subclass changes. And the missed patch note is for Striker Titan's reversal perk, where they removed the small health bump on melee kill from 20 health to 0. And this ability now immediately starts health and shield regeneration. So just a random kind of additional change that they missed out in the patch notes and noticed later on. But for now guys, that is going to summarize the video for today. So let us know your thoughts on those changes coming up next season to Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl. Obviously pretty disappointing that we might miss out on the new invitation over the weekend, so also let us know your thoughts about that or any of the stuff that we've spoken about in this video. But as always, if you found the video useful, a like below really helps me out. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more D2 content, but otherwise, I hope you guys have an awesome day.